Your child is melting down in the middle of the grocery store. Shoes off, floor level, full volume. Every single person in that aisle is looking at you. And in that moment, you hear your own parent's voice come out of your mouth, sharp, firm, absolute. Stop it. Right now. Because I said so. The crying gets louder. You grab the cart and walk faster, jaw tight, heart pounding. And later that night, after the bath and the bedtime story and the lights out kiss, you lie awake wondering, am I doing this wrong? Am I breaking something in them? That question, quiet, haunting, arriving at 11 p.m., when the house is finally still, is one of the most important questions a parent can ask. And the fact that you're asking it means something real about who you are. There is a single letter, one letter that sits between two of the most researched parenting styles in all of child psychology. And understanding the difference between them might shift something fundamental in how you show up for your child, and how your child learns to move through the world. Stay with Mind Root Parenting until the very end of this video, because what you're about to understand has the power to reshape not just your parenting, but the relationship you and your child will carry for the rest of your lives. Here's what so many parents feel but rarely say out loud. They're exhausted by the battle. The constant negotiation, the defiance, the way a simple "put your shoes on" can somehow escalate into a 20-minute standoff. So they tighten the rules. They raise their voice. They take things away. They draw a harder line because softening the line hasn't seemed to work, and someone has to be in charge here. And honestly, that impulse comes from a place of deep love. You want to raise a child who respects boundaries, who functions in the real world, who doesn't grow up thinking everything bends for them. Those are not bad goals. Those are the goals of a thoughtful, invested parent. But something keeps happening that doesn't make sense. The more you clamp down, the more your child pushes back. Or worse, they stop pushing back at all. They go quiet. They comply, but something behind their eyes goes somewhere else. And neither outcome feels like what you were hoping for. You wanted connection. You wanted cooperation. And somehow you're ending up with either conflict or distance, and you can't figure out where the gap is. The gap lives in the difference between two words that look almost identical on paper: authoritative and authoritarian. One letter separates them, the I in authoritative, but in practice, they produce entirely different nervous systems in your child. Here's what the research, going all the way back to developmental psychologist Diana Baumrind in the 1960s, consistently shows. Children don't actually struggle with boundaries. What they struggle with is disconnection. The prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for reasoning, impulse control, and emotional regulation, isn't fully developed until a person's mid-20s. When a child is dysregulated, that part of the brain essentially goes offline. They are not being manipulative. They are not testing you to win. They are neurologically incapable, in that moment, of doing what you're asking, not because of defiance, but because the brain wiring to do it isn't mature yet. Authoritarian parenting, high demands, low warmth, obedience focus, treats misbehavior as a character problem to be corrected through control. And because it bypasses connection, it also bypasses the child's ability to co-regulate. Co-regulation is the process by which a calm, connected adult nervous system literally helps a child's dysregulated nervous system come back to baseline. It's not a theory, it's neuroscience. When you stay regulated, you give your child's brain a model to borrow. When you escalate, both nervous systems go into survival mode, and no learning happens there. Authoritative parenting keeps the structure. It keeps the expectations. But it adds the relational warmth that makes those expectations landable. That one letter, that A, stands for empathy woven into leadership, and that combination is what the developing brain actually needs. The first shift is learning to separate the behavior from the relationship. When your child does something you need to correct, the correction itself doesn't have to carry coldness. You can be completely firm about what's not acceptable while still communicating that your relationship with them is not on the line. In practice, this sounds like coming down to their level literally, physically, and saying something like, "That behavior is not okay. And I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get through this together. You're not giving in. You're not negotiating consequences away. You're signaling to their nervous system, I am your safe person even inside this hard moment." That signal is what allows the prefrontal cortex to come back online. It is the prerequisite for learning. Without it, the message that lands is simply, I am unsafe. And a child who feels unsafe doesn't grow into cooperation, they grow into either fear-based compliance or chronic resistance. Practice saying the limit and the love in the same breath, not as a technique, as a truth, because both things are true at once. The second shift is learning to give your child a voice inside a structure you still hold. Authoritarian parenting tends to be non-negotiable across the board, which means children have no legitimate pathway to express disagreement, and so they find illegitimate ones. The meltdown, the backtalk, the stonewalling, these are often just power bids from a person who has been given no formal channel for influence. Authoritative parenting creates those channels deliberately. It sounds like, "We're leaving in 10 minutes. Do you want to put your shoes on now or in 5 minutes?" The house rule isn't changing. The exit time isn't changing. But the child has been given a real choice within the structure, and that tiny experience of agency does something significant. In a developing brain, it builds the internal experience of self-regulation, because they practiced making a decision. Over time, thousands of those small moments wire a child who feels capable and respected, rather than one who has learned that power only flows one direction. You are not losing authority by offering choices. You are teaching your child how to operate within structures that have room for them. The third shift, and this one is the quietest, and perhaps the most important, is learning to repair. Authoritarian parenting often treats rupture as a weakness to push through. Authoritative parenting treats repair as one of the most powerful tools available to you. When you lose your cool, and you will, because you are a human parent, not a parenting robot, what comes after matters enormously. Coming back to your child and saying, "I was too loud earlier. I was frustrated, and I didn't handle it the way I wanted to. I'm sorry," is not undermining your authority. It is modeling the exact emotional intelligence you want your child to develop. It shows them that relationships can absorb conflict and come back. It shows them that accountability is something adults do too. And it deepens their attachment security in a way that no amount of structured discipline alone can achieve. Repair is not weakness. Repair is the evidence that your relationship with your child is more important to you than being right. Children remember repair. It becomes the emotional bedrock they stand on. You are not your worst parenting moment. And your child is not damaged by the times you got it wrong. They are shaped, most deeply, by the fact that you keep coming back, that you keep asking the question, that you lie awake at 11 p.m., caring about who they're becoming. The one letter between authoritative and authoritarian is not just a linguistic detail. It's an invitation to lead your child with your whole self, structure, and warmth held together, because that combination is exactly what a growing human being needs most. You already have it in you. You always did.